So as I said in the last video, if we miss sleep, if we have a disturbed night's sleep, if our sleep's fragmented, the changes in our brain, our body and our nervous system all make it harder to sleep again, and the amount of sleep that we need to recover becomes longer and longer and longer. There's not one cell left untouched in our body. Our whole body, our whole brain, everything changes based on the amount of sleep that we get. So I've spoken about the bigger shifts. I've spoken about the amygdala becoming more active. I've spoken about this increase in stress and reactivity. And understanding that from that anxiety is going to be worse. Your racing mind is going to be racing even faster than it was before. If you've had trauma or depression, those things are going to be worse, and those things are going to all make it harder, much harder, for you to fall asleep the next time and get the sleep to help you recover from the sleep you've missed. But what are the other effects that happen in your body? What are those things that we can start to address to help reverse this condition? So one of the scariest things I've seen in the research, it gave me a fright, was the sleep neurons. Part of the brain, there's a part of the brain responsible for that regulation of your sleep neurons, and remember that seesaw between your wake neurons and sleep neurons, part of that can die off. You can lose cells from that part of your brain, and up to 50% of those. If your problem goes for a week or two, you can lose up to 50% of those cells. So you've got half the amount of brain helping regulate that system. Not only that, the cells that are left there, those nerve cells that are left, can be inflamed from the lack of sleep. And because your immune system is depleted from the lack of sleep, because it's impacted and shut down, its ability to clean up that inflammation and clean up that damage in cells is much worse off. It can't do the job that it needs to do. Now, under that stress situation, things like histamine can increase, and they can increase, as I've shown, up to about 10 times when you're stressed and when you're lacking sleep. So histamine is going to be vastly increased with this inflammation in your brain. And we know from the past videos and the past education that histamine is one of those chemicals that, again, stops your sleep neurons working. So when there's histamine present, it's so hard for the sleep neurons to actually help you fall asleep. So can you see there's a knock-on effect now in your brain that actually makes it really hard for you to actually fall asleep? But sadly, that's not the only changes. And so some of the things you might want to address is a whole cascade of effects. And that cascade of effects includes things like your insulin. You become more insulin resistant, so more diabetic, which is going to impact on your ability to sleep. Your digestion is going to be worse, because digestion gets shut down when you're not sleeping well and when you're stressed. So that's going to impact on your ability to get the nutrients that your brain needs to recover its sleep and the body needs to recover. At the same time, you're going to crave fast foods, you're going to crave that sugar hit, you're going to crave the fatty foods, the high reward foods that help you try and feel better faster. But what we know is that high sugar diet actually leads to worse sleep. And over a longer term, lack of sleep has been linked to an increase in adipose tissue, to being fatter, more obese, and that obesity makes it harder to sleep as well. So not only that, it actually goes a little bit deeper than that. The changes that it's caused in your body lead to your mitochondria, those guys that make energy for you. They like an environment that's happy, that's stress-free, that has lots of oxygen around. In that state, they make you lots of energy. When you're stressed, when you're lacking sleep, when there's not a lot of resources, when there's a lot of sugar around, they go into a thing called cell defense, where rather than make energy, they actually shut down to protect themselves and protect the cell from the damage. What that means is you're going to have much less energy available, so you're going to be more easily overwhelmed and much more fatigued. That overwhelmed fatigue is going to make it harder for you to exercise, and if it's harder for you to exercise, you're less able to get that amount of exercise your body needs to feel tired to sleep. At the same time, your breathing under stress is going to be shallower, so your oxygen level is going to be depleted. Your CO2 level is actually going to be raised, and that has been shown to wake people up. So when your CO2 levels become higher, your O2 levels lower, your oxygen levels lower, that wakes people up. So if you've got less oxygen and your mitochondria making less energy, you can have a whole lot of other impact changes. Now, on the other side, if we look at what cortisol is doing, so we look at the stress impact, cortisol is going to be raised. We know that increased cortisol affects your ability to sleep through the night, but it actually also impacts things like your hormonal balance. And one of those things it does is shut down your thyroid. So you might end up thinking you've got thyroid issues, and the doctor might diagnose that as well. So you might actually want to look at the cortisol imbalance as part of that equation before you just fix a thyroid on its own. You're going to end up with, or you might end up with a whole lot of other issues around this unbalance in cortisol and your hormones and things like estrogen and testosterone imbalance. That'll impact your libido and your ability to sleep. And then, because your energy is depleted, with your thyroid going out and with your mitochondria not functioning, and your adrenal glands getting driven and struggling, you might turn to things like coffee, energy drinks, and the myth of energy drinks, thinking that those are going to help give you energy. But actually, they're robbing you in this depleted state. They're actually robbing your energy base or your foundation, and then plunging you deeper into the fatigue, which is going to make it harder for you to sleep. So those chemicals are going to make it harder. They're going to make your sleep shallower and less recovering. So in the long term, it's going to make it even harder for you to sleep. Further down in that stress state and in that digestive issue state, you produce more of this chemical called somatostatin. And somatostatin, when it's administered to people, it actually wakes them up. The experiments have shown just getting a dose of somatostatin can wake you up from your deep sleep. And your body produces more of those when your digestion is poor, when you're stressed and when you're not sleeping well. So again, that's going to make it harder for you to sleep. So these are all the knock-on effects in this cascade that leads to this deeper and deeper spiral, that it's important to address each of these factors to come on up. At the same time, your ability to make growth hormone, which is needed for that deep sleep and repair, goes down. Things like the muscle tension under stress, your muscle tension increases, you end up with more back pain, you'll end up with possible more neck pain, neck and shoulder pain, more migraines, more headaches, more restless legs. So all those conditions make it harder for you to sleep. So further down on this sleepless spiral. So just to stop your racing mind, you might turn to alcohol, but as we said in previous videos, the science has shown there's a rebound effect called a rebound alertness, and that rebound alertness is actually going to wake you up during the night. So you're actually going to not, even if you do fall asleep, you're going to be more likely to be wakened, more likely to have a shallower sleep and be more fragmented. So you're not going to be getting that recovery sleep, you'll be going further down that sleepless spiral. And again, be too tired to exercise, which we know exercise leads to giving you better sleep, and more depressed from that as well. So in that lower state, you'll be less likely to want to see friends, less likely to be social, and social connection is the #1 indicator of happiness. Happiness means the chemicals in your body that let you sleep, which means you feel unhappy because you're not meeting people, you're not making those social connections, and you're less likely to be able to sleep. Finally, in desperation, you may turn to sleeping tablets. They might help get you to sleep, but most of those cause a thing called sedation, which is not deep sleep, and in sedation you're not getting the recovery that your body needs. So in the long term, you're robbing yourself of your ability to sleep, because one of the other side effects of sleeping tablets is insomnia, and you can Google it. The American Sleep Association says on their website. So it's one thing to be really aware of these sleeping tablets, because not only do they cause insomnia, so you'll be less able to sleep, but they also have horrific side effects in terms of your tolerance. So quickly your body gets used to it and can't sleep anyway with it. and then horrible withdrawal symptoms as well. And so there's more likely to cause things like dementia because you're not getting the deep sleep that your body needs to clean those chemicals from your brain during sleep. And as we've shown before, some of the common painkillers, some of the common medications all block that ability to sleep, and if your muscle tension and headaches are high, you're more likely to take those, which is going to impact your ability to sleep in the long term, and you're less likely to sleep, so you're further down the sleep spiral. Not only that, the lack of sleep, the impact on your immune system can lead to more accidents, as we've seen. It can lead to complications like cancers, more cancers, the digestive issues and hormone imbalances that lead you to worry more. And we know the worry and racing mind affect your ability to sleep. So all these things impact on your ability to sleep. They all bring you down the sleepless spiral. Now, there's a whole lot of things that bring you up the sleepless spiral. And unfortunately what happens in those, and we'll mention those in the next video, is that those get depleted in the sleepless spiral as well. So your ability to come up the spiral gets affected. So in the next video what we'll cover is what to address to help you come back up out of the spiral, as well as the things we've just talked about now. So join me in the next video for that one.